Welcome to another episode of the Traditional Dad Podcast. This is episode 13.
Is it?
13.
Lucky or unlucky for some?
It's going to be unlucky for you, but lucky for me. Because I know what we're talking about today.
Okay,
and you don't. So it's going to put a bit of a spanner in the works. Is that what it is? Spanner in the works?
Well, you'll get a real authentic reaction from me.
Oh, you love a bit of authenticity, don't you?
Oh, who doesn't?
Oh, I have to turn you on, don't I? Okay, so this week I've been doing a lot of work in my Tired Dad Instagram page, my Tired Dad Signal group, and this group's growing and growing, and lots of dads are exploring and explaining and sharing their emotions.
Right.
And there's a common theme.
Is there?
There's a common theme, and I'm going to discuss with you, and we're going to explore the common theme.
We're going to dissect the common theme.
And it can be quite relevant to us because we went through it last year.
Okay.
Why do wives, mothers, girlfriends stop dads seeing their kids? I'll go straight for the jugular. I'm ripping this bad boy out.
This will be a short podcast because I don't know, I never did it.
But I really do feel, and I feel for these dads, man. I feel for these dads because I've been there.
Not with me.
Not with you. Like 19 years ago, with my older daughter.
Do you want to share a bit of an overview of that?
The overview was got forced into a marriage that shouldn't have never happened. We got married, didn't last very long. I wasn't the best, let's be real. I wasn't the best. She wasn't the best.
Just a prelude, you were pregnant before you were married, right?
Yeah, and then we got forced to get married because of our religious beliefs at the time, which was just a man-made belief. And so then when we got married, we were forced to live together and have this little one, which her name was Poppy. And then things went south. I didn't act with integrity. I did a lot of stupid stuff. And that led to then me not having access to my daughter. And I went through the system. I did the court system. I played the court system. I had tests. I did contact centres. I did everything that the court asked me to, which then resulted in a... What's it called? A schedule? Is it?
A
contact order, which then, for whatever reason, which we don't need to go into, that stopped. So then I said to you, like, is it worth even going back to court back then? And I was like, it's not even worth the hassle. And so
it kind of got to the point where when she was older, it was. Yeah, it's hard to go into it without being too personal, but I think so much had gone on that side of it that it was very hard.
There was a lot of anger, there was a lot of bitter, a lot of resentment. And we were young, we were 20, 21. Yeah.
And you didn't, let's be honest, have a real established relationship with her, really, did you?
No. So it's been a long journey. And so that I understand why dads get angry, because once you've done everything you wanted to, once you've done everything like the system, the court system, once you've done the mediation, once you've paid your money and all that sort of thing, it can still backfire. And there's a lot of dads out there, and I'm speaking to a lot of dads that are in this bubble of, like, the woman stopped me seeing my kids. I've not seen, and like there's stepdads out there that have taken on the responsibility of children that have been stopped, and they're like, yeah, it's not my kid, but I've been bringing them up for the last however long and blah blah. So I see them as my child, and all these sort of things. So I want to know why.
This is directed at me.
Well, I'm just thinking about what happened last year with us, because we weren't together last year. And you didn't act that way at all.
No.
You were like, yeah, cool, have me, blah blah blah. You just wanted to know time, dates, and what you were doing. That's about it. But it wasn't in a bitter, angry, resentful way that most women seem to act when they start playing the game of stopping their dads see their kids and all that. And I want to get a woman's perspective on it, because you've never done it, but I'm sure you understand from a woman's point of view. And let's be real. If I got a woman here now that was doing it, she'd justify why she was doing it.
Absolutely.
Well, he's this, he's that. He's a druggie, he's an alcohol, he's a heroin addict, he's not a nice person, you don't know him, he's angry, and all these accusations that come out.
I will say, before I go on the defence of the dads here, that in some circumstances that may be true.
But
and obviously I'm assuming mum's the primary caregiver here. not always the case.
Not always the case, no. Because again, like some dads, they've taken the kids.
But I'm just giving a devil's advocate. If mum was the primary caregiver and dad was doing those things, he was a drug taker, he was abusing alcohol, he was an unsafe person to be around, then I do think the mum has the right to exercise that decision. However, there's always extenuating circumstances. That is going to be a very, very small percentage of situations. On the whole,
let's look into the small percentage of situations because we've both worked in the education system. I've worked in the social services education before doing all this, and we still know dads that have been heroin addicts, dads that have been alcoholics. They still have had some type of access where there's been control, supported.
I don't think there's ever a justification.
Unless they're a pedo, or unless there's some mental health issues and concerns where the child could be at risk and blah, blah, blah. That small number, there's still...
The damage that's done or that can be done by completely cutting a child off from their other parent is devastating.
And we don't advocate paedophiles having contact and all that sort of thing. We're just talking about dads that have probably made wrong decisions. They've probably got vices that have become addictions and stuff like that. They still have.
But the number one thing there is them taking accountability for that and rectifying it. If it's a consistent pattern of letting the child down, and I'm not justifying saying you can never see your child again, but I can understand in some circumstances why the mum has to advocate for the child and say, the child isn't old enough to make a decision on what's best for them right now, so I'm going to do that.
Okay, but those small circumstances, I'm going to defend dads all day on this one, but
I thought we'd start off with the small.
Okay, and if we think about the small, if we think about the small minor people, that percentage that the dads have got addictions. Okay, let's say they're a drug addict or they're an alcoholic addict, but they really want to see their kid. There are still revenues to go, like contact centres where they can see the kid for 2 hours a week. And as long as they stick to that and the mother allows that to happen, so that small percentage can still have access to their child.
And if the mum's happy to
in a controlled environment and all that,
to execute that, and she should if it's in a safe environment.
The other side of it is you've got then this big percentage of dads who, for whatever reason, relationships broken down. The dads said, or the moms walked out, and again, I'm just coming from a tired dad's perspective. A lot. Sometimes dads are saying to me like, my wife just got up and left, or they've just left me with the kids, or they've just taken the kids have gone, and like. And I'm not justifying it. If you're in a certain relationship where they're not happy, cool, we get it. Things happen. Look at us. Things can sometimes break down and stuff like that. However, it's not a black as white as it seems, is it?
It never is. Every situation is going to be unique in its own right, and I think you've got to think about the contributing factors as to what's got you to that point. If we're talking about why do women do it as a whole, if I'm going to give a generalisation, I would say control. For whatever reason, the relationship's broken down. There's a lack of control in the situation. So the last thing that you've got as a kind of playing card, I don't want to call children that, but that's kind of what they're used for in some situations. Is that this is the last thing I can do to have some kind of contact with you. This is the last thing I can manipulate you with. This is one thing that you really care. Like this is the only thing that's left that you actually care about that I can use in this situation for my own benefit potentially, or to control your situation. Especially when dad has moved on potentially with another partner. I think that's always dangerous territory with. I've got friends that are in this situation. I've had, friends that have been in this situation where the relationship's broken down. Perhaps dad's introduced another woman far too prematurely, or, in their eyes, that shouldn't be happening. And women kind of, because of their hurt about that situation, then will manipulate the situation with the children.
Okay, but then...
I'm not saying it's right.
No, I agree with that.
And I give you a reason why I think that happened.
I do think, though, one of my dads that I spoke to early on in this podcast, he played a good thing of most decisions are made because of the emotional feelings that have been going on during that time. So for instance, let's say the relationship's broken down, the woman's hurt, the man's angry, that starts to come to surface more. And another dad mentioned a few weeks back that if we just, and a lot of the dads have said the same thing, like if we start to put the kids first, a lot of this stuff wouldn't actually happen. But
which
somehow,
I do think we managed to do last year, as much as there was hurt from my side.
We spoke about pain last week.
No, I know.
I'm joking.
I think it's really important to be able to differentiate your pain and hurt to your children.
So what stops people from doing that?
Not being able to be as selfless as you need to be. Because when it comes to your children, there were certain situations last year that if I was just thinking about it from my point of view, would have played out completely different to how I knew I needed to play it for our daughter. And I throughout the whole situation, as painful as it was, we were all hurting enough. She didn't need to hurt anymore by me stopping you seeing her or stopping you taking her to certain places or doing certain things with her when I knew that was what she wanted. You have to separate your own pain and hurt.
And so because a lot of the time, you never hear about dads, and I don't think dads would do this. I don't think dads would ever stop the kids seeing the mom. If it was the other way around, I don't think dads would do the whole thing of, you're not seeing your mom.
No, probably not. I can't speak on behalf
because I don't think dads are that way inclined emotionally to say, I'm going to hurt you by stopping my kid.
Do you think it's down to who's the primary caregiver? Do you think that's part of it?
No.
Why
would that be a factor?
Because we're talking about...
I feel like we're having a debate now.
We're talking generally about mums being the primary caregiver and the dads being the ones that come and go. It wouldn't suit dads to suddenly say, if they weren't the primary caregiver, say, you're not going to see your mum. I think it's only really the primary caregiver that gets to make that decision. If it was dad, I'm convinced 9 times out of 10 he probably wouldn't make that decision.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. I've got a dad in my group, and I'm not going to mention names because it's not fair, but his wife got up and left, and he's the main caregiver now of 2 kids. Yet he still allows the mom to see the kids, even though he's hurt, even though he's in pain. And I will say, and this is not me being a Bible basher, but I will say he acts by God's will. And I think that plays a big part. His faith plays a big part in him making the correct, right decisions. And he always says, not my will, but God's will. So I think that makes a big part in it. But I also don't think men have it in them
to be spiteful.
Well, not be spiteful, because I think we've all got the capability of being not very nice people. But I don't think men see it as a whole thing of, I'm going to do this to get you back. Right. I think men see it as...
Do you think women do that?
I think women can do it, And I'm just talking from my own experiences, and obviously I'm going to be on the dad's side because I'm working with a lot of dads and communicating with a lot of dads that are going through this at this moment in time. And I'm actually shocked, if I'm honest with you. And the reason why I'm shocked is how many dads are main carers, not the other way around. So there are a lot of dads going through the system of, I've been stopped seeing my kid. But on top of that, there's a lot of dads being taken on the main caring role, and women just going, moms just going, yeah, cool.
Society we live in now.
Is it?
Isn't that sad?
It's really sad.
I think it's...
Well, I don't think it's sad, because I think dads can do a good enough job.
Yeah, but
I do think it's sad that
why have we got to the point that mums are just walking out in their families? That's a sad situation and a sad society that we've got to that point where...
What's the question
mums are so tempted to just up and leave and think the grass is greener somewhere else and just say, I'm going to leave the family that I've created. Because innately, as women, we are nurturers, caregivers. The dads are the hunter providers. So if we want to go to that, I'm not saying it's not a normal or natural situation for dads to be the primary caregivers, because it can be, but it's not biologically how it's meant to be, really, is it?
And there's lots of factors, but we don't know the factors. Like some people might go, oh, yeah, but I bet the woman had to get out because she was in a domestic violence relationship, or the woman had to leave, but I'm sure she had
We're giving generalisations.
And we are talking generally.
There's always extenuating factors.
And there's always factors that not everyone knows apart from the couple itself. Like people don't know what we went through. Only us know what we went through. However, looking at the bigger picture and looking from an outside focusing in, and again, I'm only looking from a dad's point of view because that's who I'm working with, I do feel that you are right. Society has changed where dads are stepping up to the mark more in
raising children.
And I don't know if, like, let's be real, like, since COVID, like, I was the one that stayed at home because I could work at home.
Yeah.
That meant I took Emmy to school, picked her up. Yes, you choose when you want to work and then choose when you don't, and then pick Emmy up when we don't and stuff like that. But I do think dads have got that capability of being at home. So then they can become the dad and the mom of the house, so to speak. I think the family structure has become more flexible, hasn't it? Like,
yeah,
you say, when you say more flexible, people might go, yeah, it's a negative thing, but I don't see it as a negative thing. I think it's just the way work has changed people. The way work has changed people how they work.
I think there's a big difference though between the dynamic of having, say, flexi work like what you do, and I actually am the one that goes out to work. That situation versus a mom just upping and leaving and saying, do you know what? I want to focus on my career. Do you know what? I want to go and travel. Do you know what? I want to go on holidays with the girls instead of going on holiday with my family and, having experiences with my husband or whatever. That's alien to me. It's
not natural to you, is it?
I don't understand the society that we've got to that women want that.
But I don't think dads understand it as well.
Yeah.
Because, and I had this conversation today with one of my clients, and it's usually dads will come back and go like, I can't be arsed. I don't love you anymore. Okay, I just want to see the kids at the weekend. And the dad leaves. That's what usually tends to happen, yeah? The dad gets to a point, whether they're having an affair or whether they're just can't be arsed anymore, or whether they're just fed up, or they don't love the wife anymore. Whatever the situation is, it's usually the dad that comes back and goes, right, I'm off. Yeah?
Because generally they're more able to do that than the woman is.
And the woman's like, well, fuck you.
You've left me in the lurch.
Blah, blah. And then that causes resentment, which then the wife or the mom will go, right, you're not seeing your kids.
Yeah.
Right, and that builds up. However, I wonder if, in hindsight, okay, let's say that happened again. Let's do the role play. Dad leaves, and the woman, yes, she's hurt and bitter and angry. I wonder at what point they could get back together once the dad realised actually she's acting in love, she's putting her kid first, she's making me see my
physically get back together in a relationship.
Yeah.
At what point could that happen?
Yeah.
When there's realisation from the mom, I suppose.
Or the dad realising that he's left and made a bad thing. But what tends to happen, it's like, again, let's come back to the breakup moment. There's always a significant point of no return.
Yeah.
Isn't there?
I don't think there's ever a point of no return, but there's a breaking point.
There's a breaking point where a woman will only take so much, a mum will only take so much. And so what happens is the dad leaves.
Yeah.
The mom gets to a point where she's angry and resentful.
Yeah.
The dad fuels that even more. The mom goes, right, you're not seeing your kid. The dad fuels that even more. And before you know it, you've got two angry people in a war.
Yeah.
The kid doesn't really know what's going on. Yeah. The parents don't care about the kid. Even though they say they do, they're not acting like they do. Yeah. I'm sure they love the kid, but they're not acting like they should do.
And let's be honest, and here I'm going to big up dads here, the system in the UK, I don't know about the rest of the world, but
it seems like the rest of the world,
it very much favours single mums or the mother in the situation. It's not set up for...
I think the system, from what I'm hearing, even like single moms don't have to pay for the legal side of it, so then dads have to pay if they want to get access. And so, like, we look how much money I spent trying to get access and all that sort of thing.
The woman has the right to turn around and say, no, you're not seeing them. And it's up to the dad then to have to go to court, to have to pay all the money to potentially go and get a contact.
Now, we've not been in the system for a lot of years, so we don't know how it's changed, if it's got better, if it's got worse. All I'm going on is what dads have told me.
Yeah.
And so it's a hard one. I always say, and I think, well, I don't always say, but I think lately, because of our situation, I'm saying to so many more dads, can you fix it? Do you know what I mean? The word that always comes up, guess what word that always comes up? Think of a word. What's the well-known word that's like 2024 or 2023 as well? A lot of women use it that men were, and now men are using what women are. Toxic, narcissistic. Like these words are coming up quite a lot. That
he's a narcissist.
He's a narcissist, or she's a narcissist, or they're toxic, or and all these sort of things. That seems to be the thing that floats around a lot. And when reality is, and we're proof of this, you can actually work things out if you put yourself and your ego to the side.
Put your ego to the side, put your family first.
Yep.
think about the best needs of everybody in the situation, not just yourself.
Yep.
I think there's lots of avenues. We're not saying that every relationship can always be repaired, but potentially there's a lot of avenues to healing, rather than just saying, do you know what, we're different people, we're not right together, and then creating this situation of animosity for your children. There might be situations where you've just drifted apart and you're not right for each other. That's fine, that happens, but you can do that in such a way that it doesn't destroy your children in the process.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But I will come back to the and this is just me believing it, because I think I believe in it so much because we've done it, that if you can try and make it work, because a lot of the time, so
you gotta have two willing parties.
You gotta have two willing parties there. Yeah.
If you're not both 100% in it, it's not happening. And I said this to you today, didn't I? If when we got back together, if you had come back and you were still the same person you were a year, 2, 3 years ago, I wouldn't be interested in repairing anything.
No.
And obviously there's a grace period of where you've got to give somebody an opportunity to show that they've changed. I think you've got to have two willing parties, and if you haven't got that, if you haven't got two people who are really fully committed, it's never going to work, is it?
I feel like there's two phases we need to look at this from. And a light bulb moment just came to me while we were talking. Ding. When you were talking, ding ding. There's phase one where you're heading in that direction. Okay, for whatever reason, your relationship's rocky. You're not connected. Your main focus has been just the child, because that's what happens when a child comes along. You don't make effort for your partners. Like, look how much effort we make in date nights, making sure your mother-in-law has, my mother-in-law has, or your mom has a little one. If she doesn't, and I've said to dads, this is your thing that you've told me about, like, and I've mentioned it to many dads before, having a date night in, put the kid to bed, get dressed up, cook dinner.
We've done that a few times.
We've done it, and I can't stand it, if I'm honest with you. Let's be real. It's really awkward at the moment, but once we get into it, it's pretty good fun.
The only awkward time is when you go upstairs to go and get changed, to put all your nice clothes on, and then you come downstairs. That's the only awkward bit, because it is a bit weird.
Yeah, because you dressed up to have a day night in the house where you've had fish and chips the night before. You know what I mean?
But once you're in it,
it's great. Nice. And like I can't cook, so you cook the meal. But dads, if you want to make it extra special, dads, go and cook the meal or get the takeaway in.
Bunch of flowers. We're easy to please most of the time.
I do think that the phase one is effort. And reconnecting. And what tends to happen is, if you don't have phase one, where you become roommates, or you just become the same, you become best mates, basically, that then leads into phase two. And phase two is, you're on your way out, you're doing separate things, she's doing separate things, which leads then to disconnection, which you spoke about the other week, which then leads to going your separate ways, discussions about what day you're having the kid, and blah 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 blah. One leaves the house, or both might stay in the same house but living different lives.
Can I just interject? You just mentioning that about talking about who's going to have the child on what day. Do you remember years ago when we used to?
I'm old.
We used to joke about it. We used to take Amy to, and this was when we were still together. We'd take her to dancing, or I'd take her to dancing, and you would turn up, like you'd come after the gym or whatever. And so we'd have two separate cars, and we'd always have that ongoing joke of, make sure you pay your CSA next week. I'll shout across the car park.
You made me look like you did it for both parents.
Because it's all banter, but because we were in two separate cars, it was almost, it looked to other people like we weren't together. And we were saying, like, imagine if we did. And
then we did.
And it almost manifested into reality. And we were saying about, how powerful your words are, and speaking things almost into existence. You need to be speaking positively and highly about the person that you're with at all times, because you think words aren't powerful, and creating almost false situations. And it was all banter at the time. When we look back, we're like, we really kind of
words are powerful,
brought that into existence,
didn't we? Well, I brought it into existence, but So, but anyway. I think every episode she just has to put a little dig in, but don't worry about it.
No.
I'm willing to take the digs.
No, it just made me think about, talking about your situation and just how you communicate. And I think that can contribute to you having that disconnection, can't it?
Of course. There's a phrase that I love. It's prevention is better than cure. And we use that in the fitness world. We use it in preventing from getting injured, so mobility and flexibility. And it's the same with relationships. If you can prevent a relationship going south, which looks like spending time connecting, putting your wife on this pedestal and all these sort of things, effort, doing the 5 love languages that you've made me highlight many times before, doing my research, and all them sort of things, then it's very easy then to save your marriage.
Just understanding what each other needs out of the relationship, because they're not always the same thing.
However, let's go back to the beginning of what we talked about in the podcast. If you're in a situation where your ex-wife or your ex-partner is stopping you from seeing your child, and communication has broken down,
re-establish that communication in any way possible.
I always think my thing would be mediation, not court.
Yeah. I think once you go in through the back and forth of court and
you're giving it to someone else who doesn't know you,
communicating through email, and you physically can't be in the same room because there's just so much anger towards each other. That's the point of no return, really, isn't it? I think trying to save any kind of situation like that is only going to be through trying to re-establish some kind of real, genuine conversation to say, look, we've got a child here that only you and I are ever going to love the same. We said this, didn't we? We spoke about this quite a few times. There's only you and I that are ever going to love that child the way that we do.
The court's right. They just want money.
No,
the solicitor won't. He just wants money. So he's probably thinking you think he's giving you the best advice possible, when in reality they're giving you advice to keep the court system going so they can make more money.
Yeah. No one's ever going to care about that child the way that you two do. So you have to put everything else aside, leave it at the door, go in and just think what is going to be the best situation for our child. And if it's to see dad at the weekend, if it's to see dad in the week, if you can, it may not be practical or convenient for you, but if it's the best situation for your child, it's got to be the best answer.
I do think mediation, if used properly, can reconcile a lot of, and I don't mean getting back together relationships,
not necessarily,
and I think alongside that, if I'm honest with you, I think if there was a system which allowed you to mediate while both going for counselling.
I do think through the court system now, I think mediation is offered, but I think at that point when it's got to court, it's almost too
and a lot of the time, if I go
too much animosity.
It's Kafka's here, isn't it? Kafka's, yeah. So if I go on what was here, it was mediation first, then they wrote a letter to the court what they think, when really you'd want someone independent that has nothing to do with court that goes, you know what, guys, I've had 2 or 3 sessions with you. I think we can fix this.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know what, guys, I've had 2 or 3 sessions. Your next stage is court, and I'm going to write a report what I think, and
a complete stranger who doesn't know you or your kids.
And I think if you can even get it before you go to a paid mediator and go to someone in the family or go someone somewhere where you can both sit in the same room and be.
Do you know what, the amount of times last year that we got to the point where we were both like, and take a breath, because we were so frustrated with each other.
Oh yeah.
But every day was an opportunity for a new start almost. Not that we were together, but to sort of try and rebuild some kind of relationship.
And I'd do things that would piss you off. You'd send texts that would piss me off, and then I'd be like, blah, 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 and then we'd like leave it for a day, and then we'd go again, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And I think because we had contact with each other as well, like obviously me picking him up for school and stuff like that, then it put a bit of a not as much strain on it, did it? To a certain point.
Well, we still saw each other quite a bit, didn't we? So I suppose we had to learn really quickly how to be able to communicate, and it wasn't always easy. But we, I feel like every time it got to sort of a really heated point, we'd let it mellow for a day or whatever, and then we'd sort of come back to the situation of Emmy comes first.
Yeah. So what's I want to give some value to dads that are in a situation where they're going through a hard time with not seeing their kids. Now, from my point of view, I had to get to a point where I was like, you know what, I can't do this. Because I'd fought for so long. I've got the court papers, I've got the amount of times I went to court and all these sort of things. And in the end, I was like, you know what?
But for your situation, it also got to the point where, because you didn't have that established relationship with her, she wasn't comfortable either, and you didn't want to push it for her, either.
No.
So I think if it's got to that point, I think that's why your situation happened. But I think if the child's a lot younger and you do have an established relationship, I think you've got to keep trying to re-establish that communication.
Yeah. However that looks.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of dads going, I can't afford court and all these sort of things. And I don't know what the best avenue is. I will always say to dads, though, act right. Because I think...
Put your own to the side.
Yeah. Put your own, however you feel about the mom, however you feel about the situation. Because, again, I'm having dads saying, like, I don't even want to lose her, I love my wife and blah, blah, blah. Which must be so hard because the anger and frustration and the pain and the whys. And then that knocks a man's self-esteem and value and worth, and then that man can become like a shadow of his former self, man. And it pains me when I put a finger up on Instagram on tired dads to do something, and the dads would agree or drop it. Like, I haven't seen my kid for 6 months, or I've not seen my kid for 3 years, and it pains me because number one, I know what it feels like. I can't imagine never ever seeing me. And them lonely times when dads are by themselves.
Well, you had that time last
year. I did, yeah.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, and I know what it's like. Yeah. The thoughts that go in your head when you're doing things and you see other people's kids doing happy things as a family, and you're there by yourself going, that should have been me. You start becoming very internally battled with yourself, and it's not a nice feeling. And this is why I did this.
It's almost like a word of warning, almost, isn't it? To say, you may think, not necessarily the grass is greener, but you may think that you want this solitude. We were talking about earlier, weren't we, about what would your life be without children?
Yeah.
And it's for you, it was a very unfulfilled situation, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally. And I think what tends to happen is what I've found, and I think I'm going to put this out there. If you're a dad at the moment in a relationship where things aren't working out, you're not connected, you think you are just roommates, or you think that there's maybe better outside of your marriage, there isn't. Okay, there isn't. And I know that because I'm the one, I've been that person, okay? And I think it's very easy for me to say now because I've done the hard work, I've done the therapy, I've gone through, I saw a thing on Instagram today that really annoyed me. Real men don't do therapy.
Okay.
And I was like, no, they do. Because if they want to help themselves and become better people, well, number one, it's a real man. And number two, a guy who was saying it didn't even look like a real man. But anyway, let's just leave it there. But it really annoyed me.
But that would have been you saying that a few years ago.
Yeah,
let's
true.
be honest.
Yeah, probably. Well, no, because I've always thought therapy works because it's my job, weren't it?
Yeah, but so, you were always the thing of, I can handle everything myself.
Yeah, true. Okay. You're always right.
Some of the things.
But I think, yeah. Next week we're going to talk about women are always right.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, exactly. But I do honestly believe that if you're in a relationship where there's connection issues, do the work. Reconnect. Make the effort. Ask the hard questions. Don't you think asking those hard questions and saying, like, what is actually going on between us? Like, do you actually fancy me?
What am I not doing?
Yeah, what am I not doing?
What is it that you want? What is it that you
do you
need?
find me attractive? Do we still think sexually about each other? Like, having those awkward questions that you want answered, but you're too afraid to answer, so you becomes a.
I think people aren't afraid to ask the question. I think they're afraid of the answer.
Well, the answer is then the solution.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But that double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hearing the answer is actually going to be the thing that saves you. But if it gets to that point where you have split up and you are in a situation where the child is being used as a porno almost, the only way that I see any kind of rectification, if that's a word, or being able to rectify it is re-establishing communication again. Because if it gets to the point of court and you're having a court order and you're communicating through email and text because you can't physically bear to have a face-to-face conversation with that person, it's only going to be a downward slope from there.
And I also think, this is for the dads out there, connect with other dads that see sense. Okay, and what I mean by that is, and this is why again I built the Thai Dad support group, because it's very easy to have that one mate tell you to act like a dickhead. I saw a group today, and the dad honestly asked, like, my ex-wife has got with someone and they've bought their house and they're going to open the house, going to get the keys for the house today. Mm-hmm. It's my time to have my kid, mm-hmm. but my son wants to go and see the house. Mm-hmm. What do I do? And my thing was, buy a card, get some flowers, take the kid to see the house, show the kid how happy you are for your mom and their partner. Inside, you might be angry as fuck. You might want to rip his head off and spit on their grave. Yeah. However,
you don't let your kids say that.
Do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there were so many dads in there.
Yeah. It's your time, don't let them.
Yeah. No, it's your time. I wouldn't do that. Oh, that's nasty. She wants your kids' control and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. Now, we've all got that one friend that will say the opposite of what you should do. Yeah. Okay? We've all got that one friend. You know what I mean?
You haven't.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. Meaning... I thought I could rely on you, do you know what I mean? No, but we've all got someone that you know that if you ask them, they'd say what you want to hear. So they justify it because they're yes people. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to upset you, so they'll say what you want to hear. When the reality is you need someone that says to you, hang on a minute, do the right thing. Mm. Because the right thing will lead to a more happier, easier life. And I think...
And not necessarily for you at the time, no. Because I'm living testimony of this. There were decisions and things that you did last year. And again, I'm only talking about this because it's contextual and, we're talking about the situation. But there were certain things that you did and decided last year that cut me to pieces. That if I would have listened to my own...
about this last week?
No, but if I would have listened to what I purely wanted... Yep. Emmy wouldn't have gone with you. She wouldn't have done the things that she did. Yep. I would have said absolutely no because I would have just been thinking about myself and how I felt. Effect for us too. Exactly. Yep. So again, like you just said, as an example, through gritted teeth, I was like, yeah, that's fine. Yep. You go, have a lovely time. Yeah. And it's probably one of the most painful things you'll ever do as a mom or a dad or. Yep. A person in that situation where your relationship's broken down, you wish it hadn't, you wish things were different, and you've got to let your child go, and but you've got to do that work internally yourself, separately away from your child. Your child doesn't need to see that. Bye, have a lovely time, close the door, then break down, and deal with that yourself. Yep.
So let's sum it up, because I feel like we could talk about this topic a lot. Let's sum it up. I think number one, look for reconciliation and re-establishing communication. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Try and find a mediator or someone of independence that can help negotiate communication and talks if you can't do that yourself with your partner.
And that could be, a mutual friend. It could be someone within the family. Yeah. It could be a neighbour, somebody completely neutral.
Or you can pay a company to do it, rather not the court company, but another company. To do it. There's lots of groups out there, therapy groups that can do that type of thing.
But ideally, it would be someone who knows you,
knows your relationship,
potentially knows the child as well, because they're really going to have your best interest at heart. Yeah.
So we've got that. Then we've got, if you are at the brink of maybe thinking that your relationship is going to go to pot, reconnection, sitting down, having honest conversations, and listening to the truth, even though it might be painful.
And taking on board
and acting on it.
Yeah.
Not just going, okay, I hear you and that's it, but acting on it.
What can I do?
Yeah, and asking those questions. What can I do to make our relationship more established, more reconnected, and listening to each other without judgment. Mm-hmm. And I think that's about it. I can't think of any more practical advice. I think from a man's point or a dad's point of view, act right.
Even if it hurts.
Because
it cuts you up.
And you might think, or in your eyes, your wife or your ex-partner might be a narcissist. They might be toxic. It doesn't really matter, because all that matters is your child. And so as long as you can be, or seem to be, or try and be, the loving, caring dad that you want to be for your child. And if you're not having access to your child, then I'd come back to what we said at the beginning, trying to re-establish some type of connection through the mom, sitting down with a mediator, with the mom, because I think, I'm going to say this boldly, and it's a big claim.
Okay.
We all want an easy life, don't we?
For the most part, yeah.
You think most people want it easy, less hassle, because life's hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
And this part of people's lives can take a massive, massive part of it, can't it? The anger, the bitterness, and you can put a lot of years on.
Oh yeah,
because you're resentful and holding on to it. So
you should always just strive to be the best person you can in the situation.
Yeah.
Because even if that doesn't result in you re-establishing any kind of relationship with your partner or your ex-partner, at least you've kept your integrity.
Yeah.
You know, and you're not going to look back on the situation and say, I wish I hadn't have said that. I wish I hadn't have done that. And you know what? Your kids are going to look at you and say, you know, in the future, Dad dealt with that really well. Mom dealt with that really well. You know, I'm proud of them.
Totally. Well, let's wrap it up. Guys, I hope we've given you some value. I hope we've given you some golden nuggets to take away and implement in your life. We can't talk about everything and answer everything because it's such a big topic and there's individual cases that need looking at if we were going to offer advice on that. But I'd say I hope the advice we give you will help you in some way, shape or form. And if you liked what we said, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button. If you've got your opinions, I'd love to hear your opinions. They might not agree with us. You might go, you two are chatting and I'd love to hear it because that's what social media is all about, discussion, sharing, and seeing other people's values and ideas and beliefs. So if you'd love to drop your comments in there and say it in a nice, polite way, that would be cool as well. Apart from that, subscribe, share, and most of all, guys, try and be the dad you can be in this circumstance because...
Your signal group.
A signal group, yeah. Also, guys, I forgot about that. If you want to join a very supportive dad's group only, it's private, then click the link in the comments and that'll directly take you to download the Signal app, which then will take you to our Signal group. Please continue to follow us on Tired Dad's Instagram page. One of the things I ask of everyone that watches this podcast is please share it. Okay, the more people that can see this, the more people we can get. And as you guys probably don't know, I want to help in the next 5 years, 1 million dads become the best version of themselves. That's my vision, that's my goal, that's my purpose. So please share this as much as you can. And until next time, see you soon.
Bye.